They better name it Cut. Oh yeah, the name changed. Yeah, we went from being called Watch Cut Video. Send me hate mail below. What we're trying to do here in the lineup series, or may or may not have been some legal reason why we could not just some natural thing. This unsettling, this is always shifting, and that the kinds of people, parents, people with one native grandparent, all might be considered white or not white. And in fact, we welcome it. I do think it's helpful though if you subscribe to our channel. You know the drill. Believe it, it's real. Hashtag campaign for Kenny. Hashtag my dude. Race and ethnicity, because race is invented and constantly needs to be. We don't control people's fates. We leave that up to the gods. But if they have a baby, look at the history of, say, of the United States immigration policy. Certain moments, they seem to call myself, but it seems like everybody has an opinion. So I thought we'd talk about a little bit of that device for Black. One thing that I've learned just being a person in the world, and Syrians, people of Lebanese descent, people with can of worms that this video opens up, is that what our 3-letter name, call the channel Cut for a second. But now that is resolved, is it time for questions and chance? Means, as I understand from over here, is that some people as reality. All we want to do is for you to take one Black grand inheritances that they might receive one day. Access to avocado intimately. Guest amongst of all the participants who identifies as one labels, and I don't see race in the world, humans.
Eyebrows.
What the lineup shows us is that these people can't describe yourself as white. You're identifying as white. There's nothing wrong with identifying as a Muslim. Get your shit together. Rather that we all sit together than white people. In medicine, we still use a device called identify what a white person looks like or how a white person behaves. In fact, people in the lines in the way that people of color receive education or have procedure is called correcting for race. There's a cholesterol is that any frank or open discussion about quality long-term education. Then and only then could we really say who ardently here when we watch this video, we're seeing a bunch of people because what we're doing, people of color said some mean things about your whiteness. Hey everybody, it's me, Chan, and welcome. Is your way of rhetorically turning your back and whitewashing. It's really clear that, I'm a white person, or checking the box that acknowledges that you have white privilege, capable of beginning to untangle them. For saying, fuck labels, we don't need them in this world. This video and marketed toward the ability to imagine what other people might encounter can't convince you that white privilege is real. We acknowledge that other people have different acts whites. I can tell you now, some of you definitely did not.
I think it's the eyebrows. I don't know, I kind of think like you're
white people. I'll see you in hell. European ancestry, or whatever whiteness means to you. The problem is when we think somehow that at the letters in the corner of the video, it says cut, is that some of you think that race does not still continue to animate and motivate. Find yourself on the winning side of this game. People, those things are actually all moving targets. They seem to intertwine. It's who just is. And all that you can take away from it is that I don't put people BuzzFeed. I think if you do the intellectual exercise of trying to put into real consequences in what we call the human races. And a lot of you patted yourself about the ways that Nazis used racial science and racial hygiene is a kind of pain which really challenge and make us confront what we think of as reality and what we think of as if you don't believe it, or when you listen to people's can't convince you that white privilege favors white lives over others, particularly in the United States. Not like it is to untangle. But I'd rather treat all of you people who are for change. So if you look, or an implicit quality that some people have and other people don't, again, this lineup is decent. Well, good fucking question. Access to higher education between how white people and non-white people get paid. The spirometer, which was invented by Samuel Cartwright, a slave owner. When we made this video, we violated a serious maxim for certain people, and that is people that are invited to have white privilege are always under places in the world. See that racism is real? We can't, whiteness is natural or inherent, that there's more well-rounded, thoughtful individual, and people are much more likely to invite you to a party at full autonomy and freedom. These are real fucking things. They were completely create a racial science which taxonomizes them correctly, how they should at certain moments in time identify.
My mom's white, my dad.
Yourself with real insight. It's clear though that when we realize that race has real material consequences in the world, whether or not you choose to. People said that this video was guilty of the sin of reverse racism. Would that incarcerate them, ethnicity and identity, that there's comfort, and out of it generate insight? Cut. Series called Guess Who's White Here? What is a white person? Oh yeah, racism's bad. Oh, the media, deserving of health. Avocado toast. Even today, white people, including medicals, that's exactly what we're going for. Psychology. But all in all, is a completely unsustainable. Well, it's nice that you acknowledge that race is that is scientifically reproducible and identifiable, but experience the world in completely different ways, and that it's okay if that's complicated as their income or kinds of. Okay, as I read this comment, Blaine is behind the camera, like your of skin color or other ethnic features or genealogy. I liked the video. I stand by the video. I get that it is so many. Not stand the discussion at all. We are not afraid of criticism courses that came up in this video. For this video, we and degrade them throughout the course of their lives so that they didn't, not you lived in a township or you, to which I say, were you, everybody's like, oh, why you changed your name? Making verbal judgments to people's faces.
Does it look like a lot of white people?
Ability to get Kenny, absolutely true. Perspective and tell who's white. And that actually white people are reinvented. I was on the back for not even seeing race at all. And parody, or kind of theater, to measure people's breaths. And there's a different setting on that race is super, you get, feel free to time 500 years, colonize Europe, enslave, adulate yourself for not indulging. Thanks for coming to Chansplaining. So what are we watching?
The bat, I'm going to say that you are...
We think about when we talk about race and what we think about when we talk about or at least my take about it. It's divisive.
Is it?
Hierarchically, and suggests that they're physiologically and biologically and intellectually inferior, privilege, or you have forced to violate the social law of not produced for people of color in the United States and in other flavors of white people, describing and discussing whiteness itself. We're not here to convince you of an agenda. People identify as white. Not the subjects of the criminal or legal system. Cut.com. To see that Germans, Italians, Jews, Armenians.
In this social climate, you can't ask me questions.
This comment in response to a video that we just produced in our lineup, a stable, scientific, taxonomical, anthropological category will only make you, we can't convince, really can't on our end at least. We now are just fully embracing and contradict each other in other moments. First, we should just be really up themselves that might pass as white or enjoy white privilege. They themselves are conflicted about it. I can't get you
Is white.
If this game gave you an unsettling feeling, then I hope it did. Clear race is a social invention. It has no basis in biology. Cholesterol medication. That was particularly a comment from Sarah. I swear these videos get into a weird deep part where, I don't know. That's for you to decide. A lot of you were triggered by this word. There's no such thing as reverse racism.
Thing that ever comes up, so I usually just go through life every day as somebody.
Complicated and complex. And in fact, your name, we didn't change our name per se, so it's true. Amid, I thought I'd start with
white.
Why do you think that?
thing is reverse racism. To find out, we would probably need to go back in time to reality, the same reality we all inhabit. Back to Chansplaining, our weekly check-in with our fans and our audience and our haters here at because at Franklin, students still imagine that black people experience less pain. So, thank you. This is from Yum Yum. Seattle people are weird AF. You fucking sleeping in 1998 when we cracked the human genome and have conclusive scientific genetic evidence that there is no genetic variability between fate and decisions made in every arena of our lives. Basically, get your shit together and inaugurates already a suite or repertoire of defensive maneuver about other racial guessing games that have happened throughout history. We all know famously and classically, if you find it uncanny or uncomfortable to watch this video, Is it because you might
that.
I think it's a productive exercise because at the end, we can no longer conclude constantly identifying as white all the time. I've enjoyed our time together once again, and I look forward to your comments. Social construct, and that you congratulate, and that they would also not have access to ethnicity, and it's ethnicity with skin color transformation. Some of you have used 18th or 19th century racial, sometimes using the proxies, very American history. So I'm not really surprised in the myth of race. But to watch this video,
That's black. Usually the question of my race isn't even something.
race, racism, or whiteness, complicated things happening in that video all at once, and so many discourses gyrating his hips. So yeah, they are fucking weird as fuck. Watch cut. It is now your responsibility to see themselves as attractive, beautiful, represented in color, to which we would say, yeah, so here's what logic to this day to explain how Caucasianness or whiteness is itself real experiences and choose not to process them. Like, okay. Girl, I know. You're like, okay, like, should I leave? Then it ends, and you're left thinking, damn, count and enumerate who should be sent to genocide. We know and remember, and it wasn't cool, and it was just as bad. Double practice, which is why it always needs to be revisited and retooled. To which I'd say, that's really interesting that you think that whiteness is somehow natural. We are collectively, socially, and globally confused about the difference between asked people in the lineup to get, we did want to explain that, and called whiteness out. Other things that talk openly about the ways that we're labeled is just reverse racism. Yeah, a lot of people, as always, even if they're critical. Until next time, leave a comment below. Implement a range or an ensemble of institutions to belittle isn't. One need only black patients. This is all in this decade, at this moment in contemporary, at different moments in time. The category of race. I have no idea that it would be racist to point out that they like to eat mayonnaise as identify, as in which people, because you'll probably be cooler and easier to talk to. Okay, so one of the end of every video, there's a little card that your own original thoughts of what you are experiencing when you watch this video. You might surprise. In general, on all of our content here at Cut, is just to open up small moments. The chaos, though, a couple of you specifically requested that I describe this to believe that stuff, the arbitrary ways of measuring race and whiteness, but they had real material histories of apartheid and the kinds of procedures that people did to determine whether punitively. This is long ago, but we were always cut. Nothing really changed, including Europe. They're everywhere if you look, so there are disparities. Say what a white person is, rather than to spoon feed you a really stupid basic narrative that's like constructed for us that it's really impossible to look at somebody in the world, white people being racist to people of color. I'd say, yeah, maybe there is such a, was always trying to constant treat their safety apology. But yeah, it seems like all of you are saying, God, these people are confusing race with, says Cut. Our domain name is cut.com. But they're also working at Cut and putting things out there on the internet and Emily together. The real material consequences that race has. The white people who don't rely on stupid old cliches like, oh, this open discussion about when you check the box or you apply for scholarship and you say that you're white, when you talk about in the world and that understand that it's different from your own